Our story begins deep beneath the castles and courts of medieval Europe. In a place where justice was performed not with fairness, but with fire. These were the chambers of fear, where the accused were dragged in silence, their pleas drowned beneath the sound of iron and screams. Here stood the iron chair, a device forged not merely to punish, but to perform suffering. Hundreds of sharpened spikes covered its surface, cold at first, waiting to drink the warmth of human flesh. In the eyes of kings, priests, and inquisitors, it was a throne of truth, where guilt could be burned out of a soul. But in truth, it was nothing less than a monument to man's capacity for cruelty. The iron chair was born in the forge, crafted not by monsters, but by men. Blacksmiths, following orders of rulers and inquisitors, hammered cruelty into shape. Each spike, each hinge, each restraint was designed with purpose. The seat of the condemned would pierce with hundreds of iron teeth, ensuring that every breath brought new pain. Once placed upon the chair, the victim could neither shift nor scream without agony. Beneath the seat, a brazier waited, its flames licking closer, inch by inch, until metal and flesh became one. During the height of the Inquisition, the iron chair was not hidden, it was displayed. To the Church, it was a divine tool, an instrument to extract confession and cleanse the soul. Accusations of witchcraft, heresy, or treason led many to this iron throne. And while some begged for mercy, others confessed crimes they never committed, just to make the pain stop. The inquisitors would call it justice. But history remembers it as terror wrapped in holiness. They were stripped of everything, clothes, dignity, identity. Bound at the wrists, ankles, and chest so tightly that movement became impossible. The first moments were cold, the iron biting into their flesh. Then, as the fire began to burn below, the true torment began. The chair grew hotter with each passing minute. Spikes turned red, searing through skin, muscle, and bone. The chamber filled with the scent of burning flesh, and the silence of souls departing. Torture was not always secret. Sometimes, it was theater. Public punishment served a purpose, to terrify, to remind, to control. Crowds gathered not out of cruelty alone, but out of fascination. They watched as power performed itself through pain. Every scream was a sermon. Every confession, a warning to those who dared to question the order of the world. The iron chair became a spectacle, a tool of propaganda, forged in fire and fear. The executioners were not demons. They were men, bound by duty, by law, by fear of the same fate. Some took pleasure in their work, others drowned their guilt in wine and silence. They were called servants of justice, yet they were also its victims, forced to become instruments of horror. For even they could not escape the nightmares that followed them home. The purpose was not death, it was confession. The inquisitors claimed that truth would emerge in the heat of suffering. But the truth that burned that day was not divine, it was human despair. Words forced by agony held no meaning. Many confessed to impossible crimes, flying with demons, cursing the harvest, worshipping the moon. They confessed, because silence hurt more than lies. In the end, their voices broke long before their bodies did. Centuries later, the records remain, inked by those who witnessed and justified. The names of the condemned are written in trembling script, their crimes long forgotten. But between the lines lies something more chilling than the acts themselves. The calmness with which it was all recorded. Bureaucracy met brutality, and together, they created history's darkest paperwork. As Europe changed, so did its conscience. Enlightenment brought questions, philosophers, and rebellion against cruelty. The iron chair was retired, its spikes dulled by time and shame. But its shadow did not fade. It lingered in the basements of memory, a reminder of what men once called justice. Even when the fires died, the echoes of screams remained in stone. Today, the iron chair sits in museums, silent, still, unlit. Yet every spike tells a story. Of faith twisted into fear. Of justice turned into spectacle. Of power unrestrained. It asks us a question we still struggle to answer. When justice demands pain, who truly sits upon the throne? The condemned, or the ones who watch?